The Florida GOP struggles through a dilemma: hide its dirty linen or air it all out in public, and is Senate candidate Marco Rubio growing his hubris along with his poll numbers? All of that on Power Play this week with our guests, Gary Fineout of the Florida Tribune and John Kennedy of the News Service of Florida. Okay, it's the big talk for now 2-3 weeks in a row, Republican Party of Florida financial scandal. And is it going to stay an insider game, or is it going to go public beyond a query by the party itself?
Well, I mean, I think the media is going to continue to try to make it a story, regardless of how you...
Gives you something to do, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I think regardless of what you're going to say about it, the fact of the matter is that this question about especially the question about the credit cards, who had them, what was spent on them, that's not really going to go away. The Democrats are already trying to make hay out of it. So, I mean, for right now, it's the gift that keeps on giving to the Democrats. So I would imagine that there will continue to be articles. They will attempt to be even more made of it in the weeks to come.
Is anybody intimating that there's some criminal wrongdoing here that could, earn the interest of investigators who aren't just Republican Party people?
Well, that hasn't really come up yet, but I think it could. It's one of those things where there is a question about perhaps how this money has been spent, who benefited by it, whether it was reported as income. So we haven't heard of FBI or any other federal agencies.
But one word you hear around town, and I've heard it from every person who's talked about it, is the word kickback.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's no evidence of that. I mean, what we
But
have,
everybody's talking about.
Well, what we have had is we've had some suggestions by some Democrats that maybe FDLE ought to get involved and things of that nature. And there's been some quotations about, well, was this illegal? Was this not legal? I mean, let's understand. The one thing we have to understand is, they are a private organization, so some parts of their stuff has never come out in the open before, and so we don't know what we'll see. But hold on.
Okay.
But then the follow-up has to do with the fact is the law is a bit different for the parties. See, what everybody kind of forgets is that when they passed that gift ban several years ago, they kind of carved out the thing that the parties were still going to be able to be a conduit for things to go in and things to and come out.
But the problem is, key statewide elected officials and other party leaders didn't know about what was going on at the top of their own party. Big problem.
Oh, yeah. And I think you are going to see a public policy result in this in some fashion. Maybe what they used to call leadership funds coming back, where you're already seeing the House and Senate Republican leaders asking for their money out of the Republican Party coffers.
A few years ago, when the Democratic Party had not quite as big a financial scandal, with one chairman going out and one coming in, did the Republicans maximize their outcome from that?
Well, I think they maximized it to a bit of an extent, and it came up a little bit when that chairman wound up running for statewide office.
Which he's doing again.
Which he's doing again, and I'm sure we'll hear those stories again.
Okay, let's move on to Marco Rubio. He's vaulted ahead of Governor Christ in the polls for the U.S. Senate among Republican Party likely voters. Is he becoming emboldened to do some things that may get a big headline nationally, but maybe not smart politics here at home? Is he getting a little mean now?
Well, Christ remains a very popular figure, and maybe Marco Rubio is seeing what Sarah Palin is doing on the national stage and thinking, in the position he's in, where he's hoping to get some of those Tea Party people behind him, he has to do some stuff that's really going to stand out.
But doesn't it seem like he's appealing for Republican Party appeal outside of Florida? Some of what he's doing, he's playing to grandstands outside of Florida.
Well, he's got a playbook, and that playbook has gotten him to where he's either tied or he's ahead of Chris now. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you still think that the primary is only going to come down to 20 to 30% of the electorate, well, then maybe you keep pushing in that direction, since it seems to be yielding such good dividends at this point in time. Now, the issue is that when are we going to see the real pushback? There is a pushback that's already started from the Chris people. They're saying things in the press. They're trying to get. They're going after him a bit. But you and I know the mother's milk of politics is money, and then using that money on television. And until the Chris people begin to really pound Rubio, I mean, then
okay. But the governor has the capital of a legislative session to demonstrate leadership in. He's got the bully pulpit of the governor's office. Marco has no office at all. But he's demonstrating an arrogance now we haven't seen in a statewide race against an incumbent statewide elected officer. All right, we're going to go, guys, to your respective Power Play of the Week. John.
I'd say it's the House and Senate Republicans in redistricting, where they are hitting very hard at a fair districts proposal. This is a ballot initiative that is intended to take politics out of redistricting in 2012. Republicans have raised all kinds of issues about this, and they are really exerting the power of the incumbency right now. And this Fair Districts initiative is a Democratic allied effort that would, really prohibit incumbents from drawing districts that benefit themselves, and that would hurt the Republican Party right now.
Okay, Gary, your choice.
Well, I mean, back to Rubio. I think it's Rubio because he goes down to Fort Myers. He has a big event. He gets attention from it. He has says that in the last 10 days, he's raised $800,000 from just continuing to go after Obama, going after Chris, going after the stimulus. And like I said before, until such time comes that he gets serious pushback from the Chris campaign, it seems to keep working for him.
You got to feel it's coming now.
It has to come.
Gary Fineout, John Kennedy, thank you very much. For the latest political news, go to the Safety Review, and we'll see you next time on Power Play.